Hey everyone, Ed here. Lessons from my mentors. This one is an amalgamation from several, just how I was learning to interact with the board and how important that is. A lot of times as a CIO, you might not be front and center with the board, but you need to make sure that informally you become front and center with the board. So I'm going to share with you 3 or 4 things that you can do to make that happen. I'm telling you, these are so effective that you will develop such a strong relationship that you'll have all the support you need. So when you do go to the board to present and you're asking for a ton of money, trying to state your case for something, you're more likely to get it because you already have established relationship and confidence with the members of your board. So first thing is always be ready and true to your word. So if someone asks you a question, give them the absolute truth and then deliver on it. So I'll never forget, it was at a board retreat. I don't know if it was random, but I'm sitting at the table with, it's a round of 8 and one of the couples is the board chair and his wife. And then I was there with my wife and we start chatting and he's asking about a strategy. And I'm like, of course we have a strategy. And he's like, oh, people tell me that all the time. I've been CEO of all these major companies and no one really has it. It'll be, days and weeks and you'll be scrambling. I said, no, I'll get it to you tonight. So after dinner, it was at a hotel, went back to my room, sent him the strategy. And he later would tell me, so I had a couple more interactions where I built his confidence. And he later came up to me and said, Ed, don't ever leave this organization. And you have to promise me right now. It was kind of awkward, right? But he said, you have to promise you right now that you will never leave this organization before talking to me. I don't care if it's more money, if it's more span of control, whatever it is you want, you have my word, I will get it for you. I mean, talk about giving you confidence, right? To move forward and be bold and do the things that you need to do. So that is awesome. That's where you want to be. It hasn't happened at every place I've served. So I want to be clear about that, but definitely a place where I stayed for 8+ years. Another thing you want to do is create, it can be informal, a CIO roundtable comprised of the CIOs from your board member organizations. Now, some board members will be retired, won't work there, although you still can go back to the company from which they came from. So that is exactly what I did. So it was when I was CIO at University Hospitals. I was so naive, the story as a young, naive, and I needed to hang out with people that were wiser than myself anyways. So I looked at all the board members and what companies they were from, and I went and looked up the CIOs. And then I reached out to the CIOs and I was like, hey, I'm the new guy. I'm at University Hospitals and your CEOs are on the board and I've got some major things coming up. I have no idea what I'm doing and I really would love your help. And I'll never forget, it was at Lock Keepers, for those of you from Cleveland area, Lock Keepers, and they all showed up. We had this private room, this giant round table. And, here I am 32, 33 years old and these, people much wiser, a couple decades more experience talking to me and sharing with me and giving me inputs and telling me, Ed, anytime, you come talk to us. And I did. I leveraged all of them for many, many years. So that's another thing. A third thing is form a subcommittee of the board for tech. And again, some people are shy about doing this. Obviously, you work with your CEO and, internally first. But if you want to really position IT to be super, super strong in your organization, and it should be, you'll want to have a board subcommittee. Now that comes with, it's a 2-edged sword, but but both edges are fine. So you won't get cut. And it's so important to build clout, build credibility, build relationships, and just get broader input. So that's another thing. I've done that as well. It served the organization super, super well. And I got to learn and just hang out. The fourth thing, and again, make sure this isn't done in a cloak of secrecy. I want to make sure you're super transparent about it. But I would approach the board members and say, hey, I want to tour your facility. I want to learn more about SedgeLock. I want to learn more about, Medtronic. I want to learn more about, Shoney's, whoever it might be, JCPenney, whatever the companies might be. So do that and then go to those companies and learn and just listen and learn everything, supply chain, the finance, just how it's all run, retail, operations, because it just makes you that much richer in terms of your knowledge and things that you might learn from those industries that you can apply back to healthcare. And the fifth thing is do the reverse. Invite these new peers, invite these new colleagues in to learn about healthcare. Like, hey, have you ever wondered what it's like, in an operating room or how it all works, the patient experience, the patient journey, how it works? Would you like to learn? And they do. And so again, what you're just doing is you're creating these relationships, you're creating this network, and it's going to go back to the board member. So whoever that board member is, they're going to find out in a good way all of the stuff that's happening. And they're going to be like, wow, that person, and you're not doing it to manipulate, get that straight, right? That's just a secondary benefit. The fact that there'll be a halo effect from it is the secondary benefit. The primary is like you're actually learning stuff that's going to help you and help you better position technology to save people's lives in your institution. But will get this halo effect, which will be super helpful because there's going to come times when you're in a board meeting, it's not comfortable. Maybe there's a cybersecurity issue. Maybe there's some other sort of thing that's come up that's a super challenge. And you need to have the board members there feeling confident in you and wanting to empower you. And maybe the last thing, this kind of bonus, I think I've covered it probably in our earlier lessons from my mentor, but when you do finally get the opportunity to present, you gotta hit this out of the ballpark. And I learned a lot about this, especially at Cleveland Clinic. So before we ever went to that board meeting to present, we went through, man, I want to say at least 3 rehearsals with our CEO. So that's how seriously he took it, which sent a definite signal to the rest of us. Like you weren't going to go in there and just wing it. And, even though I think of myself as fairly decent at presenting, I remember just learning so much because, I came in there, I had like maybe 5 minutes to share the digital transformation strategy for Cleveland Clinic. And, I thought I had it down to 5 minutes. And had I been left to my own devices, I would have shown up and I'd been that person that goes way over because he made us, our CEO, rehearse it in front of each other, in front of him, and I ended up cutting the words in half at least to get it down to be that succinct. So message is rehearse, be super refined, and the simplicity. I had everything I know and I've shared before on a single piece of paper, on a single slide. I never used more than one slide. So you've got to be able to get to the point that you can convey your message on one slide. Because remember, the individuals on your board are not necessarily healthcare people, and they're not tech people for the most part. So you got to realize they're super smart though. So if you can create some imagery on a single slide, that'll help them quickly understand and get up to speed and fight for what you are looking to fight for, that'll really make a difference. So those are 6 things that you can do to enhance your relationship with the board and learn.